What's up, my Pugnios? Andy Vlogs. Excited to share with you guys this content here. As the title suggests, we're going to be going extensively over the differences between the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, I'm going to focus on the different cameras. We're going to show you from a practical standpoint the differences between the two. As you guys may know, I'm a vlogger, and so I always handhold this device and I shoot and make weekly vlogs, and so that's going to be my approach. I'm not going to go over extensively the differences in the f-stops or the shutter speed or all that good stuff. We're going to show you what it looks like when you zoom in, a couple of the different features, but for the most part, this is going to be shot in 1080p 60 frames a second. If you're interested, I've got links down below in the description for the different cases that I use. This is the Apple leather case. This is the Nomad leather case. For your information, this is not a sponsored video. No one paid me to say anything here. None of these companies that I'm showing their products did either. And so you know this is a genuine and a sincere review. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it and show you the differences. Pugnios, I've got an abomination in my hands. Check this out. This is ridiculous. This isn't like the best way to do it, but this is the only way I can think of. I've got this ShouldPod little mount with the Ulanzi bracket on top of this grip by MOVO. On top here, we've got the iPhone 13 Pro Max. On the bottom, we've got the iPhone 12 Pro Max. We're going to show you what practical use is for this. I've got some very, very harsh light here, as you can see on my face. We also have some low light shade here, and then underneath my stairs you'll see some low light. So that's what we're going to be kind of doing here. This is the plan. Let's go ahead and shoot. Okay, we're going to go ahead and show you now each screen's different interface, what it looks like here, the different settings that you can go into and drill into. Let's first start off on the 13. On the 13 here on the photo, you can see that you obviously got 1x, 3x, 0.5x, and this is kind of what it's going to look like as you're snapping into each one of them. Here is what it looks like when you're snapping into the 12. When you're snapping out of it, you can see how that is. Let's go ahead and zoom in and out and show you what that looks like here on the 12. You can go all the way up to 12x here on photo. It's 13 millimeter for the 0.5x. For the 1x, it's 26 millimeter. On the 2.5, it's 65. It looks like, you know, when you snap to 12, it does give you good stabilization. On the 13 here, you can go from 0.5 to 1, kind of lurches. This can go all the way to 15x. Interesting, it's not stabilizing when you're at 15x. It doesn't snap. Try that again. Yeah, it's not snapping. It's like really, really wobbly there. That's got to be an issue. They need to make sure and fix that. 3x is 77 millimeters. 1x is 26, the same as the 12, and then 13 millimeter. Showing you here on the video now, on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Only goes up to 9x. I'm trying not to lurch it. It's the way that my finger is dragging against it. But you can kind of see as it switches lenses that it kind of pops. $12 isn't any better. And that's what that looks like. All of them here on the 12, you've got obviously the portrait pano. 13, you've got portrait pano as well. We're not going to go over those. They're basically the same. You got this new feature on the 13 called cinematic. It's kind of interesting. You can see you can toggle between 1x and 3x. And it does this like hyper depth of field kind of a thing. You can see around the subject, the device itself, it's kind of haloing. I don't really like that. The 1x seems more feasible here if that's going to be something that you want to consider. You got slow-mo, which is the same on the 12 and as the 13. You can do 120 on HD and you can do 240 on 720. Time lapse is kind of the same feature there. Swapping to the front-facing cameras, you still have access to all the exact same things. Slow-mo is going to be same thing, 1080p, 120 frames a second. Video here, you got the same 12 megapixel camera, which is going to probably give you, what is that, 24 millimeter? I don't know, you can't even zoom. Here's the photo, it punches back a little bit. You do have the pinch on the 12 and the 13. It gives you wide and not so wide. Portrait, We'll go over portrait in a second here on both, and that's about it. Okay, on the 13 here, you've got these picture profiles here that you can swap to. As you can see, you've got standard, which is the standard iPhone. Rich contrast seems a little bit more like the Google phones. Vibrant seems more like the Samsung phones, and then you got warm and cool. So honestly, I would shoot in warm or standard. I always like this flat standard profile that the iPhone has. This is for photo only. Cinematic here on the Selfie Cam, you can see that it blurs the background. You have the haloing effect around the edge, which isn't something that I really like. I wish they would fix that. It's not very good. You do have the the focus around the brain that you can see around my face. It does keep it in good focus, but as we get real close, like right around the edges here, it starts to drop off and then flare, which I don't like. All right, we're here on the 12 Pro Max to show you kind of what the standard is, and then we'll go to the 13. From 1X, we're gonna tap to the respective tele and see what that looks like. It jumps us in there. Let's bring it all the way back to the ultra wide and see what that looks like. I'm getting about the same kind of a thing. It seems like they're both able to really jump from one to the other. I think with iOS 15, they really fixed that. iOS 14 had a lot of issues swapping to and from. I'm gonna go ahead now and go from the ultra wide all the way to the tele by kind of dragging and zooming. It looks like it zoomed in and out very quickly, and it looks like it's really, really good. No issues. There is kind of a snap when it hits the wide to the tele. You can see that snap. Nonetheless, I think it's much better than what it was in the past. Moving to the iPhone 12 Pro Max here, let's go ahead and zoom in to 7X. You're not getting as much as the snappiness, but it's still pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and go slow now. We're gonna go slow from each camera. Show you what that looks like. A big jump from the wide to the tele on the 13. Let's try that again. Big jump. Yep. Here on the 12, I'm gonna go slow. It's just a big jump. It's a typical big jump. I think that's how you're getting on all of these phones. All right, both of them are live and we're filming. I'm on the 1X, just gonna kind of go around and show you my camera and what that looks like. Since I have such a difference in the lenses, it's gonna be difficult for me to get a good side-by-side. You can tell that it's doing a really good job focusing, getting that depth of field. Let's get close here. If you recall, on the 13, you've got that micro mode. You can kind of see it flicker into that mode. As you get real close, you have to tap. The iPhone 12 just isn't doing any of that. You can kind of see that it snaps when it gets out of the macro mode and into the macro mode. I'm wondering if it uses the tele or the wide. It probably uses the ultra wide to do that. Super interesting there. This is the best I can do with the 12. That's the best I can do with the 12. You reach your limit there as far as your depth of field. Now it's so shallow as we get closer. There's a lot of stabilization that I can see, but you can get real close. I mean, I'm like so close, basically touching it, and you're getting all that detail. That's so cool. You can see the fibers that pulled off from the paint. That is really cool. Okay, I'm gonna walk around here with the wide and show you what that looks like. Both of them, I'm trying to stabilize the best I can with my hands. You can tell that the 13 is substantially more stable. Seems like whatever they put on there, the optical image stabilization is doing its thing, but you still get a little bit of the roll action, but it seems like on the 12 you're getting much more of that. Let's go ahead and do a good old pan. The lenses are looking very similar in that regard. Okay, we're on the 2.5 on the 12 and the 3X on the 13. You can tell that they're different. I don't know why we moved away from the 2X. I like 2X. I guess 3X is the new thing. I'm getting kind of this weird jitter as I'm panning up on the 13. But the same thing's kind of happening as well. It's trying to focus on something, but it's jittering a little bit. I don't really like that. One thing that I'm noticing much better on the tele for the 13 as opposed to the 12. I mean, look at that. That's clearly the f-stop. Because the tele has such a lower f-stop, it's getting such a better shot. Whereas the iPhone 12, you can still see the leaves are really, really dark. That's because we have a better f-stop. Low light conditions are so much better on the 13. Okay, under my deck, it's very dark. So this is gonna get you low light situation as you look into my basket for catching grass. Now I'm gonna try to have the background blow out and try to focus on the inside of that stair. You're still able to get some detail on the 13. As far as the 12 here, it's it's not as good because it's a 1.8, whereas the 13 is the 1.5. So you're still able to get in there and get some information from the sensor. Trying to get the selfie cam into position. It's kind of difficult here on the 12. On the 12 there and on the 13 here, you can see we're gonna walk around and it's not the best. It's not what you're gonna be wanting to do. You can see there's a lot of roll happening. I don't really have it stable. I mean, this isn't gonna be ideal. If you wanna like stand in place and hold it real tight, then that's gonna be your best bet. But if you're gonna be walking around vlogging with this thing, you get so much tilt going on that it doesn't stabilize. However, it does look really good on that 12 megapixel camera. I think it's pretty decent here. Let's get closer when we've got the light behind us. You can still see that we're, at least on the 13, you can see that our face is really nicely lit up despite having this flare here going. As far as the 12, it's not so much. My face got much darker. As soon as I covered the sun though, obviously you can get it into view. Walking around and vlogging here, it is, it's something that you can consider. I don't typically do. I like to hold something and have the 1X on the back camera. Having this front facing is not good at all. It's not very good. In cinematic mode here with my 13 Pro Max, it doesn't look natural. You're getting a lot of haloing. With the camera lens, you can see it in focus, but over by the monitor, you can see that it's like haloing. It's kind of weird because if you got this elongated kind of a thing, it just struggles. You need to have it like square on and then it can get good. But you're still seeing right here, right around the edges of the monitor, it like halos. It's that issue that I was noticing on the 13 as well. Using the 3X tele now, as you're kind of panning here, you can get kind of a cool pan. I'm not super stable, but you lose a lot of the stabilization when you're coming around like that. I like how the background just like moves so much in proportion with, with your phone. But it's able to snap to focus really, really well. It's able to grab the subject with pretty impressive precision there. All right, we're now on the cinematic here. We're on the cinematic shot for the selfie cam on the 13. And it just looks weird. You got this fuzzying going on around my chin because, my front of my face is longer than the chin. And so the depth of field is like making this really halo-y. And the background is just, it's so unnatural in my opinion. But apparently the computational photography is supposed to give you an equivalent type of a depth of field as you would if you were using like a 24 millimeter lens. Nonetheless, it seems to be doing a good job here, but there's no good stabilization. It's still really, really shaky, if I'm holding it for any long extended periods of time. Okay, now that we've done the majority of the camera testing, I can just tell off the get-go the 13 Pro Max is so strong. We went over the cinematic mode, we went over the shallow depth of field, the differences between the different lenses. You can definitely tell when you zoom up on that telly that you're getting so much more information, that you're able to, shooting into the sun, you can still get those leaves into good exposure. Let's go over and take some pictures with the camera. We're just gonna stand straight, and then I'm gonna move about the yard and get some different compositions and lights. Alright, now we're gonna go ahead and take some picture here. 1x 26 millimeter. Take a straight up shot. I'll let you guys show it back. The 13 looks pretty good. I mean, it's taking a lot of information here. Let's go ahead and move on to the 2x on the 12 Pro Max. Line up the shot on the 13 3x 77 millimeter. You can see there, composition wise, both of them look really good, really sharp. As far as the shot here, zooming in really close, it looks really good. It's able to catch the edge while it's still able to keep the subject in semi-focus. It's not like super rich focus when we zoom in, but you're not getting that weird flaring or both of them are looking pretty good. It looks like the 13 is actually doing a better job. You're able to get that shaded area there on the fence in much better lighting condition. You can see more detail. On the higher contrast points there on the 12 compared to the 13, there's a lot of noise, a lot more noise than I'm really comfortable with, but it's lit better. Alright, so this section here, I'm going to show a series of different photos here in different situations, lights, contrast, shading, exposure, that kind of stuff. So here I'm pointed straight up at the sun. You've got the leaves shining through. You can see definitely the haloing effect. It's about the same. This next shot is of a stump that I'm on 1x. You can get about the same kind of a shot, feel, sharpness, and whatnot. The next one, I approached the stump a little bit closer and turned the micro on just by tapping the screen on the 13 Pro Max, and you can see within millimeters here such high detail, super sharpness. On the 12 Pro Max, it's completely blurry. I'm on the ultra wide now, showing the bark here. This is the 0.5x zoom. Here you can see there's extra sharpness, low light situation. You've got some light bleeding through the fence, but you're still able to maintain a pretty good exposure. You do notice that you're getting a little bit more detail because of that f-stop is better on the 13 Pro Max. Now we're going to go ahead and switch over here to another macro shot. I got much closer here to the bark. You can see again, totally blurry on the 12 Pro Max. As 13 Pro Max, super sharp, super detailed. Although there is a lot of noise here because it seems like there's something digital going on. Lastly, here are a couple of pictures from the front-facing camera, a couple of selfies. I've got one, obviously you can see where I'm shooting into the sun, and it shows that my exposure is pretty good on my face. Although it is doing some beautification, I don't really like it, but it is otherwise a pretty decent shot. And then here I move, same thing, front-facing camera, out of the sun where the sun is on me as the subject, and you can see there's some shadows, high contrast. Otherwise, it's pretty rich. And I do like how there is some depth of field going on in the background. I mean, ultimately, the question is it worth it? Are you on the 12 Pro Max, and is it worth moving to the 13? For me, yes. It was definitely worth going to the 13 Pro Max and getting the 1 terabyte because of the small business that I'm running, because of the amount of content that I'm putting up on the internet, needing to edit, needing to have everything in one place. It's honestly, it's just more convenient for me. But for you, it may not be. For me, I vlog every day and I make sure to have the most crispy, the best content out there, and I think that's why I needed to move to the 13 Pro Max. With that said, folks, down below in the links in the description are going to be some of the links to the products that I featured today. I went over the camera extensively, each one of them. I really like the 3X, how it punches in a little bit more. It is a little laggy when it switches from the 1X wide to the telly. Nonetheless, it is nice to be able to go to 9X as opposed to the 7X on the 12 Pro Max. I always thought that was annoying that I couldn't punch past 7X on the when I'm recording. Obviously, you can go further when you're shooting pictures, and obviously that macro is pretty stunning. Nonetheless, guys, if you like this content, hit that like button. My name is Andy with Andy Vlogs. Subscribe if you want to see more. We'll see you on the next one.